Well, my. The WWE has gone viral for all the wrong reasons. WrestleMania 42 is upon us. It is within a couple of weeks, and this build has been something to say the least. When the WWE first got acquired by TKO, it was like Paul Levesque was all like gung-ho about bringing this family type of an atmosphere, this great chemistry, this great morale in the back to the live stage, and making WWE bigger than it has ever been before. You know, Vince McMahon was kind of circling the drain with the types of storylines and the types of matches that we just saw over and over again from 2018 to 2020 that was just kind of like, we were like sick of it, you know. It was terrible. I went to a SmackDown taping, and I went to a Raw taping, and I mean, there was like 40% crowd full, like nobody was interested in the product. You had Jon Moxley as Dean Ambrose in gas masks, feuding with Seth Rollins. It was a terrible product, and everybody had criticisms about it. And when AEW came to fruition and had their debut on TNT and TBS, it was like people were getting behind AEW to hopefully be the savior to get professional wrestling out of the rut that it was in. And then alas, Paul Levesque takes over of the WWE creative, and you get this storyline when Cody Rhodes shows up. He leaves AEW and he defects to the WWE, and then he finishes his story finally after losing prior at WrestleMania 39. He goes to WrestleMania 40 and finishes the story, and it's this great moment, and it's like this new era. And every 3 months after that, Paul Levesque is talking about this new era, and there's this new excitement. And then we get WrestleMania 41, and it kind of shits the bed a little bit. You know, it wasn't the best, and you know, the idea of John Cena turning heel didn't go exactly as planned. And then you had Travis Scott show up, and he just didn't seem committed or passionate about professional wrestling, but there was pageantry because he was a celebrity, and it was like The Rock was the final boss, and everything just kind of like didn't finish, and it was a lot of things that were left in queue that just never got completed. And after that, it kind of seemed like Paul Levesque and his creative team were like week to week with the way that they were running storylines and they were setting things up. There was still a lot of great professional wrestling. There was still a lot of character development. There was still a lot of people that were graduating from NXT that were coming up that showed a lot of promise. But overall, the product just kind of seemed to be lost after that one pivotal moment at WrestleMania 40, and they've been struggling to get it back ever since. And now we're getting into WrestleMania 42, and from the beginning of the year, we have seen nothing but promising storylines that were to conclude at WrestleMania 42, just not being able to be finished the way that we would have expected because of injuries and setbacks and having to rotate and fix the match lists. And the vision had changed. You know, there was rumors of Roman Reigns and The Rock. There was rumors of CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and that all got switched around. And now we were going to get Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, and then we were going to get Roman Reigns and Gunther, and there were all these other rumors that were going around. And now the way that WrestleMania 42 is shaping up on paper, it's a really great card on paper. But the WWE fan is unlike the AEW fan. You cannot just put matches together and expect them to just be bangers and the fans to appreciate it. With the amount of cost to buy a ticket to go to the WWE now, which is TKO's fault in that regard, and the amount of pageantry behind an event like WrestleMania that is a two-night spectacular, well, it's not that unique anymore because you have SummerSlam that is 2 nights. Rumors of the Royal Rumble going to 2 nights. Potentially Money in the Bank could be 2 nights. They could even do Survivor Series as 2 nights. You've got the Saudi Arabia shows that are being built up as bigger than WrestleMania. WrestleMania doesn't have that lore. It doesn't have that spectacular, like, Super Bowl of professional wrestling feeling anymore. And this WrestleMania 42 has done no favors for WrestleMania as something that is big and larger than life. The only thing that you can say that is being built as something that's bigger and larger than life is the fact that there are celebrities a part of WrestleMania 42, and not just in the aspects of like guest ring announcer, the host of the show, No, these guys are going to get in the ring. Guys like I Show Speed. Guys like Logan Paul, who to Logan Paul's credit has practically become a full-time professional wrestler. Passionate about the product, athletic as hell, and someone that actually has, and for all intents and purposes, has superseded any thoughts of him being just another celebrity wrestler. The guy's a professional wrestler now. But then you have a guy like Jelly Roll, who is very passionate about professional wrestling. Guys like Little Yachty, who's a big wrestling fan, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get in the ring and actually perform to that ability. But you've got all of these celebrities, and then you got Pat McAfee. And recently, Randy Orton turned heel, which did not work in the way that I would assume they would have expected it to work, which is that the crowd would turn on him. But they give him the same music, which the crowd loves to sing along to the music. It's kind of become a thing over the last 3 years. They didn't change his music. They didn't really do much to change in the way of Randy Orton being a different character. He is actually the Viper that people have been clamoring to get for a long time. When Randy Orton came back to professional wrestling and made his triumphant return looking larger than life, just as big as Brock Lesnar, just brolic as hell, he was very domesticated. He was the lovable, hey, I'm having a good time type of a character that would drop the RKO on somebody in any moment. The fans still loved it. The fans still sung to his music, but they all wanted to see that killer Randy Orton that they loved from 2009. All of those young kids that hated him at that time, as they got older and older, they started to become a fan, and they wanted to see that type of Randy Orton come back. And all the while, you've got Cody Rhodes with the big machine behind him being called, got the battery in his back calling him QB1. And the fans are getting sick of it. They feel like he's the corporate champion. He dresses in nice suits. He has his own bus. They give him his own podcast. Essentially, every corporate guy that the WWE has, and gal, as far as Stephanie McMahon goes, they're a fan of Cody Rhodes. They're propping Cody Rhodes up. It's the antithesis of what the wrestling audience and the WWE audience would consider a fan favorite. So when you pit him against this cerebral assassin, pun intended there, of Randy Orton, the crowd is going to favor Randy Orton because he's unpredictable. But we know what Cody Rhodes is going to do. We don't know what Randy Orton's going to do. We don't know how when he's going to strike next, and that's exciting. Wrestling fans, especially those in the WWE, historically, they love the snake, the rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin, same idea. So when you have this feud going on, there's of course a big lore, there's a backstory, right? Because Randy Orton gave Cody Rhodes his first match in the WWE. Then he brought him along in the stable, the Legacy. And when Cody Rhodes went to make himself a bigger name, when he went through the Independence, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, then later AEW, signing off and being one of the first executive vice presidents of that company, he became larger than the character that he left as Stardust. He became someone that you can buy in as a world champion. So now you've got these two guys that they had a match at the King of the Ring a couple of years ago. That was pretty good. It was the finals of the tournament and whatnot, and Cody Rhodes was able to get the win. This one should have been a little bit different. You would have expected the build to be a little along the lines of Cody Rhodes channeling a more sinister version of himself. When Stephanie McMahon came out and interrupted him when he came out and cut a promo on Raw this past Monday, I half expected Cody Rhodes to hit Stephanie McMahon with the RKO. She even said as much. She said, if you are going to beat Randy Orton, then you need to hear the voices in your head the way that he hears the voices in his head. It was almost like she was beckoning him to snap. And instead, she smacked him and he said, thank you. And the crowd did not like that. I'm not advocating for man-on-woman violence here, but I guarantee you an MSG, if Cody Rhodes would have hit her with the RKO, that place would have come unglued. That would have been what they would have what they would have wanted to see from Cody Rhodes, because that's what he's going to need. And they didn't get that. So then they even became more frustrated. And now they're in a situation where Randy Orton was on the phone. He was talking to this mysterious person. There had been rumor and innuendo that he could have been talking to a number of individuals. There was a rumor of Ted DiBiase Jr., who had just got acquitted of a court case. Maybe he was going to come back because there's a backstory there. There was made mention of Randy Orton saying that Cody, the Rhodes family's not the only family in professional wrestling. So like, it could have been Bob Orton. Other people were thinking it could have been himself, that he was talking to the voices in his head over the phone. Maybe his version of himself from 2009. Other people were insinuating it could have been, including myself, that it could have been Kevin Owens. There's a strong backstory between that. I mean, RKO, the tag team, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, they were behind Cody Rhodes at one point. And Randy Orton was trying to play peacemaker between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes when they had their feud. And historically, Cody Rhodes had a great feud with Kevin Owens last year, where Kevin Owens ended up getting a severe neck injury. So it would make sense for him to come back, align with Randy Orton in the attempt to get Cody Rhodes the fuck up out of there, right? So all of those story ideas simply made sense, right? However, what they instead did was they brought Pat McAfee back. Now, Pat McAfee was a full-time color commentator on Raw, and I think he did a couple of SmackDowns as well, filling in for guys that couldn't be there. And then he left. He has his podcast. He does college football. The guy's got all kinds of irons in the furnace. So he left WWE for a while. And there was talk that maybe this would have been the end of Pat McAfee's run in the WWE. So him making that surprise return, it was a surprise. However, his surprise return, turning heel and joining up with Randy Orton, I'm sure from the meetings that they assuredly had and the creative meetings that they talked about this, they thought, well, this is a way for Randy Orton to get heel heat, the quote-unquote heel heat, by having McAfee cut a quasi-shoot promo, which is like he's talking about some real stuff here, that it would work and that the crowd would turn on Randy Orton. And now Randy Orton has this mouthpiece that is a celebrity that can bring more eyes into the product but get more asses in the seats for WrestleMania 42, which has yet to sell out and is doing really, really poor, being it's the second year that they're going to be in Las Vegas. So, of course, TKO, who made the purchase for the WWE, they're trying to get their ROI, their return on investment. So they're going to try to throw everything at WrestleMania 42 that they can, because it's going to be on ESPN. It's going to be on the ESPN app. So you want more of a viral sensation. And I'm sure that Ari Emanuel and Mark Shapiro and Nick Khan, they want the eyes on the product. They want to get their money. They want to get the popularity. They want to get the talk. They want to be the talk of the town. They want the wrestling community to come together in droves and theorize and talk about all these different types of stories and ways to go about it. And with the celebrities, you're also going to get potential eyes on the product that haven't been into the WWE for a while, or maybe they're absent fans, and get them back in a strong way. This did not work out the way that they wanted it, though, because this went and bombed. I'm going to keep it a thou with you guys. I'm the impartial Marshall. I have no picks. I'm not an AEW guy. I'm not a WWE guy, although I've been a WWE fan since I was 3 years old. I like to think when I come up on this channel and I talk about professional wrestling that I speak from a way where I'm not trying to be biased. AEW does a lot of great things. AEW does a lot of fucking weird things too. And WWE does a lot of great things, but they have been trending on the downward spiral for a long time now. And I think it's safe to say that. And this move is not going to get them back into the talks of the town in a positive way, in my opinion. Pat McAfee coming back. I've always wanted to see him as a heel manager, by the way. But this was not the time to do it. And Pat McAfee basically came back and he channeled Dan Lambert. And for those that have never watched AEW, I'm going to probably put a picture up on this video so that you can see it. He basically came out and did Dan Lambert, which Dan Lambert, admittedly, just kind of rehashed a lot of stuff that Jim Cornette was saying on his podcast about AEW when he showed up. And that's basically what Pat McAfee did. He came out and he talked about all the stuff that people have been saying on the internet. And he tried to make this comment about 5'5" guys having 45-minute matches, which doesn't really happen in the WWE. So it looked like he was kind of talking about AEW, but he was using the WWE as a way to say that, which I thought was kind of weird. Like maybe he's talking about Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, but they're in the United States title picture, and both of those guys have yet to have a match at WrestleMania, so I have no idea where he was going with that. And it seemed like he was kind of insinuating that Cody Rhodes was the reason for down attendance and people not being interested in the product, which I guess is an interesting way to go. But Pat McAfee doesn't have any legacy in the WWE as far as like a family tree. He has no connection to Randy Orton whatsoever. I have no idea why he decided to go after Cody Rhodes in this regard, or why he even decided to align himself with Randy Orton. It's very similar to what they did recently, where they had Gunther come out and choke out Seth Rollins. And I would have thought that he would have helped Paul Heyman to the back after he choked out Seth Rollins, and maybe Paul Heyman bought the services of Gunther in order to be an assassin and to try to take out Seth Rollins, while Brock Lesnar was busy with Obafemi, and Logan Paul and Austin Theory were busy with the Usos and LA Knight, and the Bronze are out injured. And that didn't even happen. It seems like Gunther was acting on his own accord. So it's going to be interesting on Monday to see if they are interested even in tying that up so that it makes a little bit of sense. But both of these pivotal storylines that we're seeing right now in in the WWE's landscape, they do not make sense. Okay? They don't. And it's unfortunate. Because WrestleMania 42 right now, I mean, it's always been about celebrities. It really has. I mean, going back to the first WrestleMania with Cyndi Lauper, Pat Sajak and Vanna White and Donald Trump and all these celebrities that have had Mike Tyson have all been a part of the WWE during WrestleMania. But this is a bit different. This looks like it's Saturday Night Live. It's like Jelly Roll gets out there and I half expect him to say live from New York. It's WWE Raw. And they're wrestling. And it's doing nothing to the younger talent, which they're trying their best. Okay, you got guys like Trick Williams, you got guys like Obafemi that are going to have their WrestleMania moments. Hopefully they make the right decision and they give Obafemi the win over Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I'm really not that confident that that's going to happen. And when I do my predictions thread, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about in that regard. I really hope Oba is able to win because they really need a boost with their younger talent. They need to bring new main event blood into that scene really bad. And Oba's ready. And Trick is ready. And maybe they have Trick beat Sami Zayn, although I'm not confident they're going to be able to do that too. I half expect Lil Yachty to low blow Trick Williams and turn on Trick Williams. So, that's a way to get Trick Williams over with the crowd. I don't know. So they've got a lot of decisions to make. They've got TKO breathing down their neck now because they're on a downward trend. And TKO bought the WWE with the hope that they would make their money back as fast as they possibly can, and most likely to present it for a potential sale as well. I don't know if TKO is going to be with the WWE in the long term. There's been rumors of Vince McMahon trying to buy it back. It's possible that they could be selling to Saudi Arabia. So they want their money back, and they want the WWE to be more profitable than it was when they bought it. So they're going to put a lot of pressure on the WWE. And, I'll tell you a quick story. When I have a job, I work in a different industry, and there was a family-owned company that was coming up, and I was a part of it, and it was great. And there was a lot of camaraderie and a lot of chemistry and a lot of good morale. And the CEO at the time had worked his way up from the bottom. He started off like an apprentice, and he worked his way up to being CEO, 35 years in the company. And they let him go because they gave him an option of making this company even more profitable. And he said, I can't do it. It's impossible. So they let him go. Well, everybody that he was cool with, they all left. And now this corporate company that just bought the company that I am a part of now have to work to try to fill those gaps. And my point in bringing that up is with the WWE, the TKO is putting a lot of pressure on Paul Levesque. They're at a downward trend. if Paul can't turn things around with a solid plan to get them back so that WrestleMania 43 is on par with WrestleMania 40, because WrestleMania 41 hasn't been that way, and for all intents and purposes, WrestleMania 42 doesn't look that way, even though they have a great card on paper. It's all about the execution. Then Paul Levesque could be looking for a job. And if they let Paul Levesque go, Paul Levesque's been in this company for almost 40 years. So if they let Paul Levesque go, I can see a lot of guys leaving the WWE. And that's why I brought up that story. So it seems like they're grasping for straws. Paul Levesque has to take some creative, switches and move things around last minute and try to make sense of it all. And I'm sure his creative team is stressed and they're working around the clock to make sense of everything, to keep the fans engaged, the fans that they've, garnered over the years, over the decades, and then also to appease what TKO is offering. I know there's a lot of stress and pressure. That whole chemistry and everything's good and morale is up thing, I'm sure, is looking a little funny now. You see wrestlers like Bayley talking about things. Tommaso Ciampa left. You got Johnny Gargano that looks like he's on his way out because they got nothing for him. The SmackDown Tag Team division, which was on fire and was doing so good, doesn't look so good anymore. Look, I'm an optimistic guy, and I really hope that they can turn it around. This is not looking good. This Pat McAfee thing, and I like Pat McAfee a lot. I think I've always seen him as a heel manager. And if you have ever watched Rumor and Innuendo live and been in the chats, I have been speaking about Pat McAfee as a manager for a long time. I haven't done a video on this channel about it, but if you're familiar with any of my work on the comments section or through live chats, I have spoken about this. I love to see him as a heel manager. I think he's going to do great. But the way that they did this, they're going to have to work around the clock to fix this because the fans have caused a lot of backlash to this. And I think Kevin Owens would have been a lot better, but that hasn't happened. And they can still turn things around. They really can. But they're going to have to do a lot. And they're losing momentum a lot. And AEW has a golden opportunity right now to turn things around and to get that attention over to their channel. And they haven't been doing a good job of it either. So as a professional wrestling fan since I was 3 years old, I am holding out hope that both companies can figure it out and that can utilize these opportunities to work from a disadvantage and gain momentum so that we can have more interest going into 2027. But it is really up to the creative. It is up to the TKO brass to get out of the way. This isn't UFC. This is a totally different environment than what they're probably accustomed to. And to let these guys do what they do best. And for Paul Levesque and his creative to structure a plan a year out and maybe have a few backup plans in case there's injuries. Paul Heyman has been saying it for a long time, and Paul Heyman has gone on record as saying he thinks he's the only one that plans ahead. So get that guy in creative and let him do what you guys are not doing. It's not about fly-by-pants booking anymore. You can't book week to week. Not with the momentum they have. They have to have a plan. If Oba beats Brock Lesnar, don't circle the drain with Obafemi and have him go and feud with guys like Rusev or Malachi Black or Solo Sikoa. You got to keep him in the main event, and you got to get him strike while the iron is hot. But you got to have a plan. Even if you hotshot and give him the world championship right after that, you got to have a plan. Don't Daniel Bryan Obafemi. And I really hope they do. So this was a long-winded rant. I'm sure you have heard other creatives on YouTube speak about this incident. I thought I would give you my 2 cents just to let you know where I'm at with this. Again, I'm an internal optimist, guys, and I have no picks. I'm not hoping for the WWE to lose here or AEW to win or vice versa. I'm simply speaking in a critical way about the WWE's decisions that they have made, which I know are not all on WWE Creative. It's not all on Paul Levesque, but my hope is that eventually they'll be able to turn things around because it is what would be best for business. Guys, it's the Wrestling Old Head. Thank you so much for listening to this video. If you like this video and more, go ahead and hit the subscription button and the notifications bell so that you're always aware when I drop out of the portal of pro wrestling to talk about the professional wrestling companies. and the business that I've loved since I was 3 years old. And guys, if you have any comments about what I just said or your own thoughts on this Pat McAfee situation, the celebrity influx that has been happening for WrestleMania 42, and you want to voice your concerns or your opinion in a positive way even, go ahead and leave the comments down below and I'll respond to every single comment. You guys, thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.